It's not the way I'm wired. Waiting isn't easy for me. I get bored so fast. Oh, yes, I do. We have to wait most everywhere. The hardest is waiting, waiting, waiting for you. Waiting, 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 and waiting, 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 and I'm so over it.
Hello, Scott. Thank you so much for joining me here today, talking about it being okay and waiting.
Hey, the pleasure's mine, Jen. It's great to be here, and I love that opening music. That was awesome.
Thank you. That is off the new album, actually, that's coming out next month. So, yeah, because I'm tired of waiting. Lots of waiting. And
Life
I
is
am
nothing
so
but a
over it.
series of waiting, right?
Really it is. I remember when my oldest daughter was in kindergarten, one of the moms was so angry that the children had to wait in line for things. And she was petitioning the lines. And I thought, but what do you do at the grocery store or at the bank? You got to learn. You have to learn. So, anyway.
I agree. Listen, we've grown up in a time when people expect everything right here, right now, and no waiting for anything. So I get it. Makes sense. And yeah, if we teach a little bit more patience, maybe the world would be a little bit better place too.
Maybe. Oh my goodness. You want to tell everybody a little bit about you? Because I know they've seen you maybe once before, but I want to make sure that everybody knows who you
Sure,
we're
I'll
talking
skip
to.
I'll skip the part where I'm Sagittarius, like long walks on the beach and like Kenny G. How's that? I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a former first responder on the EMS side. I've been an entrepreneur for the last 40 plus years, founded and successfully exited 7 businesses. I'm also my past experience include business radio talk show host, syndicated, and Division I college soccer coach, and been involved in over 70, probably closer to 80 now, nonprofit organizations during the course of my lifetime.
Wow, that's amazing. That is amazing. Oh, let me take this one thing down so we can say hi to Eileen. I'm so excited. Eileen is here. Eileen has been with me since the very beginning, and we have not. I've not been here, Eileen, for quite a while. It's been almost 2 months now. Took a little break, decided where we're going, and we're going to have a whole new channel for all the judges. All of the judges in the interviews are slowly going to move over there. So you have one place just to find all of that. And then here is going to be different. We're going to be talking to you guys about, well, how to navigate life and how things are going, because things have been going differently for a lot of people lately. And today Scott's joining me because he is such a good, calming presence. He's very knowledgeable about a lot of things. And I thought it would be nice to get a man's perspective along with my perspective on dealing with some different things. Originally, we were going to talk about Valentine's Day, but that's in the past. And this past week, I've talked to a lot of people that are struggling. And so we thought we would talk about, well, that it's okay not to be okay. And I have to say hi to my nieces. The Bithia, again, this is my nieces, and mwah, I love you very much. So there we go.
If I could just interject, Jen, we hear it's okay not to be okay, and it's become a throwaway line for a lot of people, but we're going to get real about it tonight. And I really hope people take it to heart. And as importantly, I hope people throw their questions into the chat too.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to have some questions of our own. Starting with this one. There are a lot of people, especially people of a certain age, maybe they've hit retirement, or maybe they've just hit that income threshold that they always wanted. And they thought that once they hit whatever it is, life would be perfect and they'd be happy forever. And they're not.
Yeah, I ran into a couple the other night and I was talking to them, and it's interesting to your point, Jen, they've got everything they ever wanted for, but yet They don't seem to have any joy. It's funny. The more I listen to them, as they started out their story, it was really like heartening, like, hey, good for you. You've gotten this, you've gotten that. And they clearly had no joy in their life whatsoever. It was almost like their life was on autopilot. And it was pretty sad at the same time as, you're thinking about other people and you go, boy, I hope this is just a one off. And the more people I talk to, you find out very quickly, not a one off.
No, no, I think because, when we put our joy or our happiness or what that contentment, whatever it is, on an external thing, it's never going to meet that need, is it? It's got to be something that's inside you that stays with you no matter what it is you're going through, which is not always easy, as we both know. But really, I have met, I've had some ups and downs in my life, and I tell you, the happiest people that I think I've met are the people that don't have it all. And they also, not always, but sometimes, were the most generous people, even when they don't have everything, right? They're willing to share what little they have with you. And I think there are lessons in there that we may want to unpack. But if you're watching, what do you think about that? What are your thoughts?
The one thing I'd share right up front, Jen, is sometimes the people who don't have it all don't know they don't have it all because they're so damn happy. It doesn't take much to be happy, and sometimes we get lost in that. And it's funny, the other thing you said that triggered something for me was back in the day, I ran youth sports programs in the town that we were in. It was a volunteer position. And when it came time to recruiting coaches or volunteers, it was usually the busiest people who were, not, a lot of blue collar folks, but the people who had the money and the resources were too busy trying to carve out this life that they thought was going to be perfect, and they couldn't do these things. And it was often those people who didn't have as much that contributed more than anybody.
Yeah. And they're happy to do it.
Mm-hmm.
That's, and not the people, not the people that are well off or whatever aren't willing to do good things. Of course they are. But yeah, there is something about, I don't know, this pure joy. And I think because you really, I don't know, when you don't have everything, I guess you look at a Jeff Bezos, say, right? It just seems like he just keeps wanting more and more and more and more. It just goes to show you whatever goal you reach, there's always going to be one more. Or maybe not in his case, but in everybody else's case, somebody that has a bigger toy or a better thing. Right. And so when you think you've hit that spot, you realize you get up there and there's a bunch of other people still where you are. And I think just learning how to be happy in our own sandbox, whatever that looks like.
Yeah, I think if you can step outside of your body, and I've had to do that a few times myself. This past Christmas, I wrote my son a 5-page letter, and I talked about different things in my life that he was not aware of. And, one of the lessons I've learned is sometimes you really have to step outside your body and look at yourself and ask yourself, what am I doing here? What am I taking for granted? What aren't I appreciating enough? Maybe I don't have it all, or maybe I don't have everything that I might want, but what do I have that makes me happy, and just appreciate that.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think, it's so important to learn how to be content. I think, contentment, that happiness or that joy or that, that excited, whatever, that comes and goes, but an underlying, just learning how to be content with whatever it is that you have. And sure, we can have goals and we can want some other things, but just learning to be at peace where we are, wherever that spot is. My big thing that I keep telling people is you're the person you're meant to be right now in this space, and you're meant to be exactly who you are in this time. And when we're going through a chaotic time or a rough time, or we don't feel okay, it's hard to believe that, but I really do, even if it's a really rough time, because we always grow through those times. There's always lessons, and there is a reason. Some of the really bad things, I don't know what the reasons for those are. I'm not talking about those, but do you know what I'm saying? The seasons of difficulty.
Seasons of difficulty, but also when we think, it takes a little bit of time. But once we get past those seasons of difficulty, when we look back, I'd like to think we could take pride in ourselves for actually making it through those seasons of difficulty and champion through it. It was hard, it was painful, it was difficult, it was sad, it was all the things you can possibly think of. But at the end of the day, we have to acknowledge we made it through.
Yeah, we made it through. And our thing, my thing is there's always someone we can help with the information that we've learned through that. And do I want to go through all the painful things so I can tell somebody? Maybe not always, but the more we learn and the more we grow and the more painful things we go, the more we can relate to other people. And then there's some saying, and I don't know, how can you taste the sweet without the salty, right? If we were given candy all day, or kids were given candy all day, all night, they wouldn't stay wanting candy. We have to have some of the salty with the sweet to be able to appreciate the sweet.
Hey, listen, we could take some good lessons from Eileen. She's content. She has a comfortable home, 3 sweet cats, an active YouTube involvement, and the love of Jesus. So, again, God bless her for that.
Right? There you go. Eileen, I love it. I love it. And I think, that's the thing is finding that contentment and that joy in yourself wherever you are. Sometimes it's hard to remember. There are days that are just going to suck, they're just, but, yeah. Let's see. What's our new one? Ooh, I got a new one here. I'm going to take Eileen's comment off and share this one.
And by the way, everyone, if you're listening to us, grab the link that you're seeing us on and share it onto your social media channels. We'd love to have more people join us.
Yes, we would. That would be fantastic. That would be absolutely fantastic. And comment. Let us know how you're feeling. Like Eileen, you're always amazing at commenting. Are you okay or just well rehearsed? I think there's a fine line between when someone asks you how you're doing, dumping everything, right, in the inappropriate time. But then always saying that we're okay when we're not okay.
Well, yeah, in the spirit of the Olympics, I need to tell you, I started recently when people ask me how I am. I usually, like today, if somebody asked me how I am, it would be like, I'm about a 7.5. And the reason being, like, I'm still getting over being sick and headache and blah, 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 blah. And, it's just like, so I put it on a scoring system and most people don't know how to react to that.
I love that. I love it. Well, but then, that opens up for conversation, right? So if they really want to know, at that point, you've given them a good foot in the door to ask. And if they don't want to know, they can just kind of smile and nod.
Right? Yeah, and I think the other side of this, Jen, is when we say to people, we're okay, this whole are you okay or just well rehearsed, the problem that becomes, if you're not okay, how can anyone in your world or your circle reach out to try and help you in some way, or at least offer some sort of comfort or advice that's going to make you feel like I matter, it's okay not to be okay. And if you could hold my hand, either literally or virtually, whatever, that'd be great.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's okay to let your guard down. I had somebody in my family who always told the world everything was fine. Everything was perfect. Everything was so wonderful. And as they got older, some of their friends started drifting away. And I had the opportunity to talk to some of their friends' children, and they said, you know what? My parent cannot handle hearing that everything is so perfect all the time because our life isn't, right? And they can't hang around with that person anymore because it's just depressing to hear how wonderful everything. And so, I think we don't have to pretend like it's perfect. It's kind of this Instagram thing, right? Like how everything is so perfect on social media, and it makes people feel bad about themselves when their life isn't perfect.
Well, when you talk about social media, I read a little blurb today. I forget what paper it was in, maybe the New York Post online, about some social media person influencer on Instagram lost 140,000 followers in one clip because I guess the filter didn't work. So what she really looked like versus what was out there, like there was a malfunction, and she lost a lot of followers at one time. So, be real, because eventually the real you always comes out. I don't care what happens in your life. The real you always comes out. And for the people that you think have it all, trust me, I've worked with many of them that maybe not by name that you would know, but that have it all, and they really don't have it all. They're really not happy. They're probably in therapy a couple days a week. They're probably struggling through their own struggles. So they don't really have it all. No one has it all.
No, and I think, that brings up another point too, is that we don't know what happens behind closed doors. Somebody that you think is doing so great and everything is so great and their family is perfect, it might not be at all. You don't, because unless you live there, you really do not know.
Well, it's family is interesting because I had a discussion with someone who was saying, "Oh, we were just away with our family for 2 weeks. It was wonderful." And I just started laughing. I said, "Are you going to be real with me, or are you just going to tell me, it was wonderful?" And they, "What do you mean?" I said, "Look, I've always regarded family like fish. It goes bad after 2 or 3 days max. So now you really want to tell me that it was 2 weeks of absolute bliss?" Person started laughing. It was like, "No, Scott, really, there was challenges, but overall it was great." I said, "Well, the memories of our past are usually better than the experience at the time. So let's go with that one for now."
Right. Yeah. I mean, and you're going to go in and have fun, but 2 weeks is a long time to spend with people that you're not used to living with, especially
So,
traveling or, yeah.
so Eileen's retired. I'd love to know how that is. She said it agrees with her. So what brings her happiness in retirement besides those awesome cats and her love of Jesus and so on?
Let's see here. I'm changing our question and then we're going to go back to the chat so I can see. Oh, we've got lots more. Um, Yeah, Eileen doesn't have. She follows other. Eileen is such a faithful, incredible person. I know. I just love you, Eileen. You're amazing. Used to be well rehearsed, but you're okay now. Herman agrees with you. Oh, your cat is snoring. Oh, yeah. So Eileen, I know, and Eileen had been through. I think. Well, and I don't want to speak out of turn, but there was a little bit of a bump, I think, in the road, and you just sound so happy, and I'm so glad that you sound so happy. I think sometimes, yeah, it's just those waves, right? Those waves. We live at the beach, and it's funny. You go out in the water, and you just think if those waves could just stop for 1 minute, so I could get out there further, right? But they don't. They just keep coming, and it's kind of like life. They just, sometimes they're just small and they're fun, and sometimes they're a little bit bigger.
But that's a reminder, Jen, that the waves come in and the waves go out, right? So even if a wave is crushing you at the moment, it will go back out.
Yeah, it will go back out. That's not always easy to remember, is it?
Hmm.
It is not. Now, the next question, this may not be something you want to post on YouTube, and that's okay. But I left it in here as part of the questions for this reason. Sometimes there are things that we're dealing with that we don't even really realize because they just kind of tickle the back of our brain and we don't want to acknowledge them. And I thought, since we're talking about serious things, I'm kind of leaving it open, not for someone to post their deepest, darkest things on social media, but just, what are those things and can you make them better? Or can you share them with a trusted person? I think the word trusted is important. So that you're not mourning things in secret, I think. It's difficult to go through things alone. Oh, Eileen, that is so true. Let me take this isn't it. Okay, let me put this one down. So they bring in the seashells. The waves do bring in the seashells. That's a really good way of looking at it, isn't it, Scott? Oh my goodness.
For sure. Exactly. And, that's called, looking at things a little bit differently with a little bit of a different eye and appreciation that, yeah, that was a rough wave, but man, look what it brought back in.
Yeah. I don't know about you. So when you go through a really hard time, do you find that at the end of it, you're better off and stronger? Or do you think you're not better off and stronger?
Honestly, it depends on what it was at the time. I mean, I've been through, so many different things in my life from almost dying a couple times to, it's funny you can laugh about that, but dying a few times. I've had a great success in business, but I've also failed. Failures count. Unlimited amount of fingers and toes to count them. I've been broke. I've had money. I've been through every kind of situation you kind of think of. So I think in some cases I came out stronger, more resilient. one of the stories I do tell was 2007. We were in a minor motor vehicle accident, really minor. But because I already had so many different injuries that were pre-existing, I was walking with two canes. Those were the days when, doctors handed you bottle after bottle of things like Oxycontin, which I never took. I just knew better from my first responder days. And I knew that I would probably get addicted. So I didn't do it. But it was a challenging time. I don't know that I came out of it stronger, but one of the things I kept my business going, and people would be like, "How are you doing it? How are you doing it?" And I just said, it was tough. And I would say, I'm just too stupid to give up. And my wife doesn't get mad at me often, but that was one of those times she got mad at me and she said, "No, you're just committed. You won't lose. No matter what it happens, you will not lose." And, maybe that's why my walkout music, whenever I do anything now, is All I Do Is Win by DJ Khalid. So, that's the way it goes for me. But, in some cases stronger, in other cases, it definitely left a permanent impression on me that wasn't always helpful.
Yeah. And so I want to say, Eileen, I'm so sorry that you've lost your sister. That is very sad, because we were talking about mourning. And that's really hard. So
Yeah.
I just want you to know.
There are no words for a situation like that, and there's just no words other than to say we're sorry, which seems a little bit trite, but Eileen, I hear you. I lost one of my brothers a couple years ago, and lost too many friends recently, which doesn't compare to your sister, of course, but there's just no words that are going to bring you comfort other than, I'm sorry you went through that, and I'm sorry you lost your sister.
Yeah, that is very sad. But I'm glad that other than that, you're feeling better. So, oh my goodness, lots. And I don't think, Eileen, you're an empty nester. But for those of you watching, who have gone through this, I have not gone through this yet, because our oldest is old, and she's going to be 37, and we still have kids at home. So, what about you? Did you like being an empty nester? Did you know? I don't know. I feel like that's loaded, because I feel like if you say, "Oh my gosh, I love being an empty," then that's kind of a whatever about your. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, for me personally, again, a real story. It hit me like a brick. My son and I are very close, even to this day. And I remember vividly when he was going off to college. I wanted him to stay local where we were. Literally, there were probably 14 colleges to choose from for where we lived, all very good schools. But he wanted to go, and he only went roughly hour and 45 minutes away, Penn State. Excuse me. And I remember driving there, him all of a sudden, he was with me, my wife was driving his car, and he's like, "I should have listened to you. I should have stayed home." And I had that devil and angel moment, right? The devil on one side, the angel on the other. And the devil wanted me to say to him, "Yeah, you should have stayed home." Because honestly, I was being selfish. He and I were super close. We did a lot of things together. But the angel said to me, "No, he's got to go off and experience life, and he's got to learn and go off." But I remember coming back into the house and walking up the stairs past his room. It hit me like a ton of bricks. And I will be honest enough to tell you that the first 2 years was really, really tough. For my wife, it was different for a couple of different reasons, which I'm happy to share. But for me, it was not a fun 2 years, his first 2 years of school. And part of that also was his first year of college. He has asthma, and we didn't know at the time, a really bad situation. He ended up in the hospital, and we thought we were going to lose him. So that compounded that whole thing too. And I was not a happy boy for his freshman and sophomore year, to say the least. And that whole empty nest hit me like a ton of bricks.
I know when my first one went off to college, oh my gosh, it was awful. It was awful. And the other ones, they all went, and far enough away for them to live at school, and they got to be independent, but close enough where if we had an emergency, about an hour and a half or whatever. So it was nice. And then these two, I don't know. I can't imagine how I'll feel when they go.
Well, when I'm asked for advice by people who, well, not now, because a lot, but the younger people that I know, when I say younger, that are in their, 40s, let's say, about, the empty nest thing, I said, start planning now, because if you wait until they go off, you're going to be finding yourself looking at each other going, well, what do we do now? So plan early.
Yeah. Yeah, I think a lot of times, couples get into that parent mindset instead of a couple mindset, and then they forget to be a couple until they're just together.
And I don't know about you, Jen, but what I've seen also is a lot of couples don't survive that. Like all of a sudden they realize that the only reason they stayed together was the kids, and or they have nothing left to talk about once the kids are gone. So I've seen that with a fair amount of people in my life too.
Yeah, and I know people that are staying with their spouse just because of the kids. And I think, that's so hard if you're fighting all the time and all that. I don't think that's beneficial to children, really. I'm also not an advocate of divorce at all. I think it's a horrible thing. But if you're just miserable and you're making your children miserable and your plan is to leave, I don't know. I mean, it's a hard decision anyway, but here's what else I don't understand. This is something I really don't get. Couples that commit to each other to get married. When they get married, right? They have children, and then they decide to get a divorce, but then they say, "Oh, well, we're still best friends." Okay, if you're best friends or what, then at that point, how about you stay together, right? Because you made the commitment to everybody. I don't know. That's just it's something that I never understood personally.
Listen, I think if you can have a healthy relationship with your ex, well, let me back up the bus a little bit. First of all, I have always believed that people get married. Many people, not all, many people get married for the wrong reasons and have kids for the wrong reasons. The marriage part's easy. Well, the biological, the time's running. I'm getting into my 30s. I should get married. This lady looks fine. This guy looks fine. So let's just go, right? And then the kids thing, it becomes pressure with grandparents. Grandparents, potential grandparents are pressuring. My mom, God rest her soul, I remember when my son was dating his now wife, she'd be like, when are they getting married? Mom, it's none of my damn business. So it's sure as heck none of yours. And then when they did get married, it was like, when are they going to have kids? Mom, none of my business. Sure as heck none of yours. I didn't want them to feel pressured by us about marriage, kids, or anything else. And to your point, the other side of that question, though, is, or the point I wanted to make actually is, so I have a friend of mine back in Pennsylvania, and he's going through a rough time with his ex, the two kids. And I said to him, how often do you have coffee with her? He said, what? And I said, don't you think that you could meet amicably for a cup of coffee once a month in a public place, pick at Starbucks, Panera, whatever, doesn't matter, and just have a cup of coffee, not to talk about the good old days, but to talk about your kids. Right now, it's like you drop them off at, it's almost like you drive by each other's houses, drop them off at 10 miles an hour and keep moving. I think it's really time that you have that kind of relationship with her. You both moved on. So why don't you have that? And I'd like to see more people have that emotional intelligence.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I agree. Just to be able to, because you have the kids. That's the thing. Just to be able to be civil and, if nothing else for them. But it also makes you feel a little bit better on the inside to not have that. The animosity only hurts yourself. It really does.
Divorced couples have to remember, if they have kids, whether they like it or not, they're stuck for life. There's going to be graduations, there's going to be birthdays, there's going to be weddings, there's going to be baptisms and bar mitzvahs and all this other stuff, right? They're stuck. I mean, and you can't have separate graduations and separate this and that. You're going to be together. So, again, to your point, maybe not best friends, because I think that would be difficult. But I think you can be amicable and you can have some emotional intelligence.
Agreed. Agreed. So the next question I've got up there is this a dead end or a detour? If you are sitting at a place in your life that you did not anticipate being in, Sometimes it feels like it's a dead end. And sometimes you have no idea where you're going to go from there. But is it a dead end or is it a detour? Because sometimes things happen and they're not what we wanted. Oh my goodness, they're the opposite of what we wanted. Sometimes that's a really good thing, though. When I look back at some of the things I really wanted, I'm glad they didn't work out the way I wanted them to in hindsight. So, what's your thoughts, Scott? Can you unpack that?
Sure. I think that a lot of times, things happen to us that we weren't really realizing we were probably attracting in the first place. And as a result, we think, oh my God, this is it. I'm done. I can't go on, can't move forward. And, it is really a detour. I tell the story. I sold my last company in 2022, a cybersecurity IT company in Pennsylvania. And, I came here in Florida. I got here 12 days before my granddaughter was born, and which was awesome to be there. But I wasn't ready to retire, not mentally, emotionally. I just really wasn't. Starting something new. And, I questioned, I built 7 businesses, but did I have it in me to build another one? And is this the end for me? Is this the dead end? And, now I have to get in a golf cart, ride around my community, and then get on Facebook and bitch about everything that I saw in my community? Or is this a detour that I need to kind of really reassess my life and go, what are you going to do now? Because sitting by the TV all day wasn't my plan, and riding a golf cart all day wasn't my plan either. So I think that we have to be willing to say to ourselves, there are no dead ends. There are only detours. And if we're willing to just be open and let it all hang out, and just say, it's okay that I'm not where I thought I'd be right now, but this is not the end. This is just, I've got to turn a page and carve a new path.
Agreed. Yeah. And no, I can't see you just sitting around in retirement either.
That would not be good for anybody in my life, including me. Yeah.
Well, it's not good for anybody to do anyway. When you retire, you really can't just sit, because the people that sit, they don't make it. They're not around to enjoy their retirement. You really humans have to have a purpose. Everybody has to have a purpose. And if it's not, trading your time for money, which, is, you got to retire from that, that's awesome. Then maybe it's volunteering or finding something that you like to do, or like you with family. And then of course you've got your business ventures that you're doing. But I think it's so important to find something that you can focus on besides yourself. I think when we just sit around and focus on ourselves, that never goes well.
Without doubt. And, this is a good time to plug. There's so many organizations out there that need help. I've always been involved in like veteran organizations, homeless hunger. Believe me, there's not an organization out there that's not looking for volunteers. Everyone is. And it doesn't have to be every day. It could be once a week. And if you're homebound, it's okay, because you know what? You might be able to do phone work for them. You might be able to send emails for them. You might be able to do some data processing for them, as old school as that may sound. But there are always things you can do. And believe me, there's organizations out there that would love to have you.
Absolutely. Yeah. I started podcasting when I couldn't even get out of bed. And I thought, you know what? I can't just sit here and do nothing. So there are an unlimited amount of things that you can do. Actually, I wrote a book about it. 100 things you can do. Well, mine was with your kids, 50 of them if you can't get off the couch. But point being that there are 100 things you can do.
Jen, you had me nervous there. I thought you were going to say 100 things you could do in bed. And I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa.
No, none of that. Although I have to tell the story. Oh my goodness. So, I still have a hospital table that goes, the kind like when you're in the hospital bed, it goes over the bed, right?
Yeah.
And I got it because I was stuck in bed all the time. And so I wanted to do things. And so when I started podcasting, I got a boom arm, like this one, and I hooked it on there, and I had my laptop and I could podcast. It was just an audio podcast, whatever. I certainly wasn't and didn't want anyone seeing me. And we had cleaning people that quit because they walked into our bedroom and saw the setup and were like, we're not going to be here. No. It's an audio podcast. And they're like, we don't know what a podcast is, but it sounds dirty. We're out. And they quit.
This is the moment we need 70s disco music, like, dun. And by the way, By the way,
Oh,
shout out to Eileen. She's crocheting for charity. That's awesome. That is really awesome.
that is. Look at you. I love that, Eileen. I love that. There's Eileen. I don't know, since I've been gone, there's all these this stuff that's going on with you, and I'm loving all the positive things. That's so cool. That is so cool. I never learned how to crochet. I do not have the I don't know what I don't have, but whatever it is, it's not my but I am so impressed by the people that can just create those things because they're beautiful.
Back in the day, there was a former football player, Rosie Greer, big guy. I mean, a really big guy. And he was into crocheting, and some guys that were, thinking about getting into it. And I just did not do it. I knew I didn't have the patience for it too. But I envy anyone that has the patience, because I'm sure it's very relaxing and very calming.
Well, then you have to count, and I would lose count. I would lose count. Um,
So
so here's
if you renamed yourself today, Jen, what would be the label?
because our
And I'll
label.
answer
Well,
it.
I that's a good question because I'm labeling everything right now, and so the most recent one is Phoenix, is because I have picked myself up out of the ashes and I am going up. So that's what I picked, and I mean I designed the Phoenix and the whole thing. I did a song about it actually. So that is kind of what I picture for this year. Is yeah.
Very cool.
What about you?
I'd say, it's going to sound very cliche, but Survivor. I go back to that letter I wrote my son, and thinking about things in my life, and mentioned a couple times almost dying and stuff. And, I think about all the things I survived like that, and also business and family and all this and that. And Survivor first comes to mind.
Definitely. So let's see, Eileen, what would your label be if you had a label? That would be Rosie didn't need a point too. That is so sweet. So and the rest of you watching, what would your label be if you were going to relabel, or not even relabel yourself? What would your label be for right now if you're very content in where you are? Because some people are exactly where they want to be right in this moment. For a lot of people, though, I feel like, Scott, for people around our age, sometimes it's a really hard time because you know you might have you're raising your kids, and then you're so and so's mom, right, or so and so's dad. That's your label, or so and so's husband or wife. And sometimes those relationships are tested, or your kids move out and everyone's not calling you, so and so's mom or dad anymore. And you're looking at retirement. And I was reading this very interesting article yesterday about men and the struggles in retirement because that label of your job position, that is who you have been this whole time. And the relationships at work, because men tend to have different relationships than women, are positional relationships in that you have who you consider your friends who are at work, but once you don't see them every day, they tend to kind of go away, and then you realize, oh my goodness, what am I going to do? Because the people that I thought were my really good friends were there because they were literally in front of me. And it can be a difficult time.
Well, yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. And anytime you put your identity out there in your job, that's risky, right? Because that can literally change tomorrow. When I'm asked, for my identity, it's pretty simple. I'm a husband, father, grandfather, and friend of many, and I try and help people where I can. It's real simple. What I do for a living is what I do for a living. Who I am is who I am.
Yeah, I think that's really important. Eileen, I love Cat Guardian. I think that is so cool. That's awesome. Yeah, and it's true, isn't it? Because you really, and even if you own your company, it is a precarious, because that it may change. It may change. But things like parent and whatever, those stay. Although I don't know, in the current climate, with the rate of children going no contact, that's also a difficult thing for some people. It really, it can be hard too. So there's a lot of up and downs going on out there, which is, I guess, why we're having this conversation, right? That it's okay not to be just okay.
Well, it's a reminder when the rain falls, when We
Yeah.
can dance in it, we can put an umbrella up, or we can just say, eventually the rain will stop.
Yep. Eventually the rain, it'll stop. It'll stop.
And shout out to rain because we in Central Florida desperately need rain.
Yes. Yes. Rain would be good. We had a ton of rain over here. Oh my goodness. We had a huge rainstorm. What, last week, I guess? It came down in torrents. Next one. What, just in case, are you finally dropping? Are there things that you're holding on to that you don't really want, that you've got, just in case the other thing falls through? Because once you let those go, bigger things can happen, right? If you've got your hands wrapped around things that you don't really want, they're not open to accept the bigger things that you do want to come into your life. What do you think?
I think that's very fair. And I will give you a real world example here, too. I probably recently overcommitted myself on some volunteering and some organizations I belong to. And I'm looking, thinking, when does my term expire? Because I'm not going to renew that. It's just getting to be a bit much. I like being busy, but at this point, busy is becoming too busy, if that makes sense. So, and I think if I would drop some of these things, I'd be more effective in the ones that I'm really more passionate about.
Yeah, I've let go of 2 things this week. One huge thing and one medium-sized thing, and it just feels so good
Mm.
to be able to focus on the things that are important because I didn't have enough space to do the things that are important, like spend enough time with my family because I had all those things going on. And so, yeah, it was awful making those decisions. That was the hardest part. But once I did, it was just a sense of relief, and it felt so much better.
Well, that kind of ties in. Sometimes we're so worried about others that we forget it's okay to be good to ourselves. It's okay to be selfish once in a while, not hurt people, not do anything that it causes them intentional pain. But on the other hand, it's okay to be good to ourselves too.
Yeah, and I think, I think that that's harder for people who are older in a way because I think, people who are younger, they're really learning how to stand up and set some incredible boundaries in a way that we were not told we could, I think, you know? I know when my older kids started setting them, I was very unsettled by it. But then once I thought about it and they explained it to me, I thought, "Oh my gosh, but what if I could do that too?"
Well,
So
I
that
think it's tougher for women too.
yeah, yeah,
Women tend to be more the givers, the diplomats, the peacemakers, the UN envoy, doing all those things to keep peace, right? So
yeah.
they're less likely to drop things and or at least if they get mad, they get over it rather quickly. We males tend to like, nope, that's it, done. I'm out.
I
See
don't
you
know.
later.
But when it comes to relationships, you guys can just punch each other in the face and then go have a beer. Women, however, in relationships, if we get angry, we're done for the most part, unless it's family. But we're done. Which kind of leads us to the next thing. What's a no that would set you free?
Wow. I've said all my no's, so I don't think there's, a lot of no's left. I got to think about that. I'm such a softie when it comes to my granddaughter that, it's like even when it's not always convenient to take her because my son and daughter-in-law are doing something, going away for a weekend or whatever, chances are I will do whatever it takes just to say, yep, I'll take her. I mean, this weekend's a great example. I will be working through the nights because my days will be with her, but it's worth it to me to do that. So it's hard to say no to certain things. And the ones you do want to say no to, I've probably already done already.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Yeah, this has been my week of saying no. So I just did the difficult no's. And so let's see, what do we have out here? Um, I leave you too, yeah. Um,
The other thing about no is that I think if you're going to say no, not that you owe anyone an explanation, but it's, just giving them some sort of reason why. There's no reason to blow anyone's life up or, burn the bridge completely. But I know when I've said no to people, it's, listen, I'll give you a real world example. In client world, for me, there's 5 criteria to work with me. One of which is, can I do the man in the mirror check and say, I honestly believe I can help this person or this company? If I don't, I will say no, but I will explain it to them and I will try and find them someone that can help them. So I think that's a righteous thing to do.
Oh, I think so. Yeah. Yeah. Unless what they're asking for is just obnoxious. And then, although maybe they even need an explanation of why. Still, so maybe they will be more gentle with the next person. But yeah, no, I think so. I think, there is something to be said for that explanation. And it leaves the door open for a relationship later, too.
Yeah, and if you're in a bad relationship, learn to say no, because until you say no, no one's going to stand up for you until you stand up for yourself. I learned that lesson a long time ago. So you got to stand up for you before anyone else is going to jump in the fight with you.
Yeah. Yeah, that is true. Because when it all comes down to it, and you're the only one who knows what is really genuinely okay with you and what is not.
And you don't want to be anyone's doormat.
No, you don't. Oh, this is a good one. I'm excited about this next thing here. You ready?
Ready.
All right. It could lead to a political conversation, but we're not going there. We're not going there, guys. If this is halftime, what's the new play? Okay, this is not the Super Bowl. We're not going there. It is what it is with that. But your life, though, your life, and it doesn't matter how old you are. You can be young and you can be old, and we can call it that. But if this is a break in what you're used to, things are different now. What is your next play coming up? I think that's pretty fascinating to think about, really.
Well, I would give yourself some grace and time. December, I had, true story, a 3-day meeting with myself. And I wasn't full day meetings. It was sectioned out so people don't think I'm totally crazy. But I started looking at my life in 2025. Last year, I traveled way too much on business. I did way too many public speaking or private speaking events. And I just said, this is not bringing me joy anymore. This is not, financially it's great, prospering and so on and so forth, but it's not making me happy. I don't enjoy it. I like my own bed. I'm kind of funny that way, but I do like my own bed. No matter where you sit on the plane, it's the view's still the same. The experience is still the same. So I made changes to my life, in the hours I work, the things I do, and so on and so forth. So if you have to take that halftime on a regular basis, it's not, theoretically, if you were going to live to 100, it's not when you turn 50. That's not your halftime. Your halftime is literally every year. And I don't make New Year's resolutions, but I do look at my life every December. What do I like? What don't I like? I don't really have regrets, but what would I have done differently? Because it's the only way you're going to learn and move forward in the coming year.
I like that. Yeah, see, I went and stayed at a hotel for 24 hours in the fall, and I realized I need to do that, even if it's just twice a year, just where I'm away from everything, just completely focused and figure out what I'm going to do life-wise, business-wise, in all the things. So helpful to take that break. So, yeah, halftime doesn't mean middle of your life halftime. It's just, break, taking a decent sized break and really reevaluate and see what's next.
My old joke, Jen, was I've seen more hotel ceilings than a 42nd Street hooker. I've seen enough popcorn ceilings in my life. I don't want to go back to that.
Oh my God, the popcorn ceilings. Oh, I got to tell you, I went to Vid Summit in Dallas and just a few months ago, and I went to this, they had 5 hotels that were on the website and 4 of them were taken. So there was only the last one. And so I thought, whatever. Oh my God. I got there. It had been a long day of travel. It was so nasty. And I went to the room. I can't even explain the smell in the room. Old folks home meets hospital, meets cigarette factory. I don't know. And I called the lobby because I had too many suitcases because wardrobe. And I said, you're gonna have to move me. There's no possible way I can stay in this room. So they send someone up with a key. It's like 30 minutes later, and I go in the next one, and it is just the same. And I just left the hotel. I don't even know why I brought that up, but oh my gosh, I guess it's just because sometimes your next play is completely abandon ship and find something else. It was the worst thing I've ever seen. And other people were coming in, checking in, they were perfectly fine. I don't know how. But yeah, we found somewhere else.
I think one of the questions you need to put to the audience is who's shocked that you didn't only have one bag?
One bag?
Yeah, that you had multiple bags.
Oh, yeah, no,
is anyone shocked by that? I'm not.
No, I travel with a lot. Yeah. Oh, Eileen, wait, hold on. Let me take this other one down so we can put Eileen's comment. I love it, Eileen. We're just sharing all your stuff. 2 goals left. Visit Houston and see Weird Al. Oh, I love Weird Al and Houston. I'm pretty sure that's for Judge Fleischer. That's pretty cool. And yeah, Weird Al, he would be very cool to see in concert. I would like that too. I saw Gallagher.
We need an accordion riff right now.
There you go. I've got some things. I need to get in the habit of using them. See, you were on radio, so you're used to,
sound effects and
the sound effect. So here's what's crazy is in this software, there are sound effects, and I've got a mixer and I've got all these great sound effects, and I never well, that's a lie. I had to reset it and I lost them. Because my mic keeps going out, and I was hoping I could reset the mixer, but it didn't work, and I'm worried that I might need a whole new one, and I don't want to get a whole new one. It's not that old. It's like 2 years old. Makes me sad.
We're going in the shower.
So, all right. So, sanctuary. Whew.
What?
Where is your sanctuary? See, I think, my belief is your home should be your sanctuary, and inside your home, your room should be your sanctuary. Really, that should be where you have absolutely the most peace and tranquility. What about you? I'm not saying mine is right now, but I think it should be.
My home is my sanctuary. However, sometimes I will just walk out into my driveway and understand that I don't live in a fancy neighborhood. It's an over 55 community. I don't go to any of the events here. I don't hang out with anyone here. But my neighborhood it's a kind of neighborhood you can walk around at 9:00 at night. The crocodiles might get you, the wild pigs might get you, but it's not the other kind of neighborhood, right? It's not like, the South Bronx. So I just sometimes, and as corny as this sounds, after some pretty rough road prior to this whole thing, I'll just look around my house and I'll think, man, I'm just so grateful for this. This is just peace. It's quiet. I look at the stars and it's quiet, and I just relish in that. Sometimes I'll just stand in my driveway for like 10 minutes, and I'm sure some of my neighbors must think I've lost it, but it's just so quiet and peaceful, and I enjoy every moment of it.
No, I think that's wonderful. And for me, it's the beach, and that's the whole reason that we moved here, right?
Well, the beach is definitely a sanctuary for me, Jen, but the problem is I don't get there often enough to make it a full-time sanctuary. So for you, it's different. It's right there. I mean, back in my PA and Jersey days, it was easy to get to the beach where I live. But here, I found for me, finding something close, whether it was my house or outside, or maybe it's somewhere else close to the area, your sanctuary should be somewhere that you can go to on a regular basis. It shouldn't just be, I'm going to take a trip to the beach and it's an hour away or an hour and a half.
No, I don't think so. It should be somewhere very close that you can get to very easily, because it's where your peace is. Yeah. It's important. Oh man. How do you handle time? I am not good with time. Especially time zones. Oh my goodness. I really struggle with the time zones. What makes you lose track of time? We could take this in a good way though. Like, what is so great that when you're doing it, you just absolutely lose track of time?
This is going to throw you. But sometimes when I'm sitting here and I just need some mental veg time, I will throw some opera music on and I will just close my eyes and it takes me to a totally different place. And sometimes that will consume too much of my time.
But that's wonderful though. And I missed Eileen, so I had to share her sanctuary time. It's her home and in your room with your pillows under my knee. See, there you go. And I believe that's as it should be, right? That's the perfect thing to make you feel good is your own home. So for me, it's music. For me, it's creating music. I love creating music. I don't watch really. I watch TV with my family, but not on my own really. And I don't play any kind of games or any like video games or whatever. We play board games, but that is and I can lose hours.
Yeah, the TV thing is interesting. I have a perspective on that, but I would just say that for me, Scrabble. If I can beat my wife now and then in Scrabble, it's a real win. We've been playing for 40, almost 46 years, and I can probably count on one hand how many times I've won. So yeah.
That is incredible.
It's funny though, you talk about board games back in the day, Jen, it was literally a board. It was a big board and we still have it. I think it's in our storage unit. And then all of a sudden it became a smaller board. And then all of a sudden, today we're sitting here playing it on our iPad. It's like really weird. It's like,
Yeah,
man, this is different, but we don't lose tiles that way. So there's that.
that's true. Yeah. Yeah, we have got the one. My favorite one is they made some anniversary thing where it's got the little like lips around each of the letters like fit securely in its spot on the board. Oh, it's very satisfying to play that one. That's my favorite. We were playing the app one for a little while, but I tried to spend a good hour playing games with my kids every day just because they're teenagers, and I've found that board games are such a good way to have time together, and then especially when they're teens and they don't really wanna talk, they don't realize how much they're talking when they play a game, and so we can end up having some really good conversations.
Do you remember the game back in the day, Operation?
Oh my gosh, yes. That is so stressful.
Well, I was a king of that in my single days, and it definitely helped me in my single days because it was like, hey, if I can do this without any buzzers or anything, imagine what else I can do. I'm a surgeon in many ways.
Yeah, that's not my skill. That is not my skill. Wow. Well, there's a lot of new card games, and it's funny. We play games like Exploding Kittens and Unstable Unicorns, and I met the lady that makes those games again at Vid Summits. Incredible person. It's one of the 4 companies that she owns. They make Cards Against Humanity. We don't have that one because we've got teenagers.
Let's
But
not say Exploding Kittens in front of Eileen, though.
oh, I know, Eileen. Well, yeah, Eileen. It's not really, it's yeah. Um, oh my gosh, Eileen, you are just the cutest. Okay, you ready, guys? You ready? She just um pretty close eye and time for the start of your YouTube streams. Yep, because you are incredibly good and faithful with that. And to people who watch, Eileen, who are you watching for court now? Because I know there's been some things that have changed in the LawTube community out there, and I'm just wondering who do you like watching? And you don't have to pick one favorite. Um, I know, not for my cats. That's funny. That's funny. That's what Scott's. I know. Um, yeah, the exploding. That's why. Um, but yeah, that's a dangerous game. But the unicorns are pretty fun. It's a brutal game. And Scott, have you played what is it, Munchkin?
No.
So Munchkin is a board game. It's like Dungeons and Dragons light, kind of. It's cards and a board, and it's brutal. And you're allowed to cheat if no one catches you. And so, oh my goodness, it just opens the doors for all kinds of crazy things. But because our kids are so vastly, different ages, games are the one thing that really, everybody can do, from the teenagers to the adults. And that's a game that my middle kids brought into our house, and we have like 5 different versions of it, and it's fun.
Very cool.
Definitely not for your granddaughter though. Okay, let's see. Whoever. Court Vibes, Lone Wolf, and April. I don't know April. Oh, this is new. I'll have to look her up. Okay. Very cool. Yeah. So these are Scott, people that stream court. So because I was interviewing the judges, that's kind of the YouTube community that I've been in, but I've been out of it for about 4 months now, and it's been interesting. So I do still watch. So I watch Judge Boyd. I have to say, I fall asleep watching Judge Boyd every day. That is true.
And I guess the big news in that space too on the TV side is Court TV was acquired by Dan Abrams' studio Law and Crime, if I read correctly.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Well, here's another one is Judge Rosie, who is a judge that I interviewed, went to jail last week, and that was a whole thing. It's hard. April's on in the middle of the night. Oh, okay. Well, I'll have to check it out though. Let's see. But yeah, it was. Yeah, there's been a lot of. We don't need to talk about that though, because let's talk about this. What's a tiny win for tomorrow? Because no matter where you are, no matter what's going on and how rough things are, you can still have wins. And so a tiny win. God, what tiny win are you going to have tomorrow? Or it may be a big win, but a win.
So my tiny win, or any win for tomorrow, will be, so we met another couple on a cruise, and they are coming to Florida with their 2 grandkids, and we are meeting them with our granddaughter for lunch. So getting through that day without any fighting with the children, any tears, and also our granddog had surgery recently, who we're also watching, getting him through the day without him trying to take his stitches out. That would be a real big win for me tomorrow. I'm keeping it simple and real. So a day without, when you have a 3.5-year-old, a day without tears is definitely a win.
It is a win. Let's see. So those of you watching, what is the tiny win that you're going to have tomorrow? What is the tiny win I'm going to have tomorrow? I'm going to tidy up this studio, and that is going to be not so tiny win, because it's just, I got half of it done. The other half, though, it really needs to get done, and figure out what I'm doing back here, because I'm bringing in blue instead of pink. But pink is not my color, and for some reason it's there, and so changing it up. So that'll be this weekend.
And for those of you who don't have a tiny win plan for tomorrow, here's a suggestion: plan one for the weekend. Just so you can on Monday say, I had a tiny win Friday or over the weekend. It doesn't have to be big. It could be just something different you did. Maybe you went somewhere different. Maybe you called somebody you haven't talked to in a long time. Maybe you just wrote somebody a note that you haven't written to in a long time. It doesn't have to be major. Just something that you'll reflect back on next week and go, that felt pretty good.
Yeah. Because when we set ourselves up to have those wins, we know that good things are going to happen, because I think sometimes we just kind of wander through life, just letting things happen as they may. And it doesn't always turn out the best then. It's good to set yourself up for success and to make sure that you have something could happen. Oh my goodness. My dearest friend who lives in Tokyo, her daughter is going to come stay with us on Sunday. So that's going to be my win over the weekend.
Awesome. It's like winning is, you buy a lottery ticket and I didn't win the $1 million. Yeah, but you might have won $2. It's $2 you didn't have before. Even if you spent $1 on the ticket, it's still a win, right? I'm not saying you should buy lottery tickets, but, just go out there and just find something really simple. Maybe it's looking at the sunshine. Do something.
Yeah. Or getting outside. If you're not usually an outside person, it's just sitting in the sun. They say that when you first get up, if you spend 20 or 30 minutes just letting the sunshine hit your face, it sets you up for such a better day. So, and it's free. You don't have to, what does it cost? You just step outside and have a beautiful day.
But use the sunscreen, because we don't want anyone to have any problems.
Well, 20 minutes. I think you're good with 20 minutes, right?
I'm not a doctor, nor do I play one on TV, though I am the master of operation. No, I'm not going to affirm or deny that.
I have to say no sunscreen. And here's why. Because the vitamin D. We're so deficient in vitamin D because everyone, I don't know. I mean, but we are in Florida. We are in Florida. And sometimes, yeah, when you step out in the sun, oh my goodness, depending on your skin, the sun here is different than it is in other places. I'll tell you what. Good night. So, yeah, be careful. I will. Okay, I have to agree that you have to be careful, but also we need to get some sun. Two things can be true at once. How's that?
Oh, definitely every day and twice on Sunday.
It's green or not so green. And it's been an hour already. I don't know how it's been an hour. We have so many other things we could put up here and talk about, but this has been good. Eileen, I have missed you. I'm so glad you're here. My nieces are already gone, but mwah, in case you are still there. And Scott,
But Jen, before we go, you got to tell everyone about your latest singing thing. What's going on in your singing world.
yeah, because I haven't talked about that because I haven't been here. So I released an album in January, and it went really good. And I have a song on there called "The Power Up Generation" because, well, in a world where the word boomer means not somebody not so nice, and I don't think that a word for a whole generation should mean something not so nice. And we Gen Xers tend to kind of get lost in there. I'm calling us the Power Up Generation. And when I went to Podfest, which is a podcasting conference, people in the audience were standing up and dancing, and then they got on stage with me, which was so crazy, you all. It was crazy. So yeah, up there on the channel, you can see the different songs. I got a couple singles in the album, and I got another album coming out. But Scott, can I tell you, you're going to love the next two songs because I have got songs that are coming out about some contemporary things, and I'll share the clips with you when they come out. The first one, well, I'll tell you guys a secret. It's about Zoom calls, and it's funny. So there we go. Get it over to you when I got it ready.
I'm looking forward to that.
It's fun. It's a lot of fun. Yeah. I mean, it's not going to make some chart or whatever, but I don't care. I'm just having fun doing it.
It brought you happiness and it brought you joy.
It did. And you want to hear something really crazy? Over there on my YouTube music channel, I had 84,000 listens in the last 28 days.
Wow.
Yeah. How nuts is that? I don't know. It's a crazy world we live in. But yeah, I'm a record label now. How nuts is that? That is just the craziest thing to me. I mean, not me, but the company. So
worldwide Jen.
If I ever would do that in my life, I would have told you were crazy. Like even a couple months ago. So anyway, and I had a musician reach out to me and say, "So I hear you're a record label." So that'll be an interesting call. My plan wasn't to take other people on, but wouldn't that be fun?
Listen, I think your next move, is it was just announced. Luke Combs is opening up a place here now. I think you got to open up your own bar and have your own singing thing going here, like Luke Combs.
You know, it was crazy. So at Podfest, they do a karaoke night. So we went to a karaoke bar. That karaoke bar would not let me perform my own song. It is against the rules. And everyone's like, this is a singing bar. We're not allowed. No, you're not allowed to sing your own song. I don't know. That was weird. But no, you know what? I'm going to be honest. I will say there's not a lot of things I say. I would never do that. Oh my God, a bar or a restaurant, the stress load on those things. No. So, Eileen, I am at the Jen Hardy everywhere you go. I have been at the Jen Hardy. So that's why the channel is now the Jen Hardy and not the Jen Hardy Show, because this channel is an official artist channel for musicians. And so it just has to be my name. So that's what this is. And that's what we're doing. Yeah. We're also doing videos, but yeah, it's nuts. I'm loving it though. I am so happy with it. So
very cool.
Yeah. If I could support my family, that's all I would do. But not today. That's not going to work today. Maybe tomorrow. I don't know. But anyway, well, thank you. Thank you for asking about that because yeah, I hadn't shared about it. That was fun. And let's see. Well, you're going to be back. Scott will be back with me. We're trying to figure out what kind of schedule that looks like. But I think this is good. You guys get everybody's perspective, you get two different perspectives. And I'm having a lot of fun with it. So
Me
so
too.
thank you.
And your audience, we say if you have any topics you want us to talk about or debate about, send them into Jen. Let her know what you'd love to see or hear a show about, because we would definitely be interested and definitely motivated to talk about that.
Absolutely. Yeah, do that. Let us know, because like I said before, if I'm not engaging with you as the audience, then I'm just talking to myself here in my studio. So I really want to know what you want to hear and what you want us to talk about, and come and engage with us, because we love talking to you too and hearing your perspective. So, and
Another way
Eileen,
to say it is Jen's name's over the door, but it's your show. So let's make it happen for you too.
I love that. That is spot on. So, all right. Well, right on. Well, mwah, I love you all. I will see you on Tuesday at our new time, 6:00. I'm going to try this for a little while, and I think it's going to be good, because I got kids that need me, and you got to sleep. So here we go. All right. I will see you all next week. Thanks again, Scott. You're amazing. Have a great one, and stay tuned and stay fabulous.